And call this meeting to order, 6:31. I think we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, good evening and welcome to the Lincoln County Courthouse. This meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission will begin with a few introductory remarks. This meeting is being streamed live, and when adjourned and posted, it will be available at any time at lincolncountysd.gov. The order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce an agenda item and present a summary of the staff findings. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and answer any questions from the Planning Commission. I will then open the floor to public input, public comment, first the persons in support of the application, and then persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. Lastly, decisions on changing of zones and zoning ordinance text amendments will be scheduled for an additional public hearing during upcoming Board and Commissioners meeting. Decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. Thank you for your cooperation. As a reminder, everyone please sign in if you can. That helps us with some records and record keeping when we're at the end of it here. All right, first we'll do a roll call. Please state your name.
Todd Boots,
Boots.
here. Scott Green here.
Betty Otten here.
Jerry Jungling here.
Eric Scott here.
Colin Enstead here.
All right, we do have a quorum. We will now approve the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes, Scott. Second, Boots.
All right, I'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Against? All right, that passes. Next, we'll do the meeting agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I will ask for a motion on the agenda.
I'll make the motion, Green.
Second Enstead.
All right, we have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? All right, that passes. Next, we get to do public input on non-agenda items. So anything that's not on the agenda tonight that you'd like to talk to us about, please come up to the microphone. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to that. And we will move to our first item, conditional use permit. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. This first item before you is a scheduled public hearing. Recall that this item was a public hearing last month. It was postponed until this meeting. And so I'll just do a brief summary of the staff analysis and talk to you a little bit about staff did update the staff report and the recommended conditions from staff. So this subject property is approximately 6.5 miles northwest of the city of Beersford. Property is zoned A1 agricultural, as is all adjacent surrounding property. Subject property is developed with an approximately 47,000 square foot building, which was permitted in 2023. If you recall, this was approved by the Planning Commission. It was appealed by the Board of Commissioners. So for those purposes, we say that the Board of Commissioners is the one that actually approved the conditional use permit. It was developed again with about approximately 47,000 square foot building to utilize for as an agricultural related business. These are some shots of the picture. So the applicant did approach staff a couple months ago and identified that they would be doing an expansion on the property. The actual footprint of the expansion is a little over 13,000 square feet. But one of the 7 conditions that was passed by the Planning Commission and then reaffirmed by the Board of Commissioners was that any expansion of the use would require a new conditional use permit. So worked with the applicant to get a new conditional use permit application submitted. Again, this is about a 13,000 square foot addition to the building. So as part of staff's analysis, we looked at, again, this was approved previously in 2023 as an agriculture-related operation. At some point in time, the County Board of Commissioners adopted within the A1 zoning district agriculture-related operations, which as staff says that allows commercial industrial type uses within the A1 district as long as they're related to agricultural type operations. So again, this is what the application was for. Again, this was originally approved in 2023 with those 7 conditions that were on there. One of the conditions is that staff would facilitate a meeting between the townships, Delaware and Brooklyn, and the owner-operated plant. Again, that was accomplished earlier this year. Out of that meeting, again, we'll do that on an annual basis, but out of that meeting, a lot of the questions or issues were addressed. I did include a copy of the minutes from that meeting on your desk last month. So as far as the analysis, again, this is an agricultural area. It is consistent with the existing uses within the area. Within this particular area, there is 2 Class A permitted dairy operations, as well as there's a biogas that received a conditional use permit as well. When looking at the new comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan identifies this as an agricultural area. One of the goals and policies within that is to promote or to enhance agriculturally related operations within that future land use area. So again, as I mentioned, as this application was postponed last month, staff was able to really kind of go back through the previous public hearing, and a lot of the things that we heard were related to Brooklyn Township and some of the concerns that Brooklyn Township had. And so staff previously recommended 1 condition. Staff tonight's going to recommend 4 total conditions with that. The second one being, this was an existing one that's in the existing conditional use permit, but we felt it should be restated. So any expansion or intensification of the use beyond that which has been proposed by the applicant or condition shall be treated in the same manner as request for a new conditional use permit as per the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. So that's how we got here tonight with that same condition. We'll add that on there again. So there will be no changes in footprint. There will be no expansion of anything on that property unless it would receive a new conditional use permit if it's applicable for that. Third condition being no raw milk tankers associated with the agriculture-related operation. Milk condensing plant shall intentionally traverse roads in Brooklyn Township except those that may originate in Brooklyn Township. And so there are 2 existing dairies within Brooklyn Township. We wanted to make sure that if there was ever an agreement between them and the dairy, that there wouldn't be any restriction to them utilizing the roads within Brooklyn Township. Number 4 would be if no road haul agreement between the applicant and Brooklyn Township is in place at the time of the building permit submittal for the ultrafiltration expansion, the County Board of Commissioners shall set a date, time for a special meeting to act as a mediator between the parties. I included the correspondence that staff has received for this meeting. There was 3 pieces that I've included on your desk, all related to this application, as well as multiple emails that I didn't include between legal counsel on both sides. Really, from a staff perspective, the issue is that there needs to be communication cooperation between the township and the applicant. So staff feels that this would be a way to maybe step above that, volunteering the Board of Commissioners to sit in a mediator role on this process. But with that, I think those are address many of the conditions that were there. What I'd further state is that, again, this application involves a land use that is within Delaware Township. Delaware Township does have a road haul agreement with the applicant. And so the other township, Brooklyn Township, again, we're preventing those raw milk tankers from going into Brooklyn Township. Understand that there's an underlying issue with the silage operations that occur with the dairy operation. And so that's the main concern that Brooklyn Township has. But again, that particular, as noted by the township's legal counsel and their submittals, is that this application really has nothing to do with that concern. It has everything to do with the original permits of the dairies. that were there. As well as addressing the concern that Brooklyn has with the original dairies. I did include, they did request that there be a review of the original permits. But there is 2 pieces of correspondence that we've received that I'll have you read in the record at such time as you have. So, not the third one though, that's related to a different issue. But also with that, we did post a property, didn't receive really any calls or questions related to that other than legal counsel on both sides. With that, staff does recommend approval of this application. Again, feels that this application is consistent with the Board of Commissioners previously approved as an agriculture-related operation, as well as it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as noted, as this is an agricultural area. The agricultural area, the comprehensive plan does support agriculture-related operations. Again, staff does recommend approval with the 4 conditions as listed. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that the board has for staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Brown, have you had dialogue with Mr. Floyd on any issues with the county road? Can you share that with us, what you guys have visited about, or what he's relayed back to you, I guess?
Yeah, I did visit with Mr. Floyd as well as the applicant. Mr. Floyd is the county highway superintendent, for those who don't know. So the applicant and the highway superintendent have met, they've had discussions, and I believe that through those discussions that the applicant, if this expansion is approved, would proceed with a traffic impact study associated with this particular application. And then, of course, then that application, or that traffic impact study would be submitted to the county highway superintendent for review and approval. If the applicant does do that, my understanding is that the applicant is going to pay for that study and then any resulting impacts of that study as well.
So when you say resulting impacts, if got to do something to the road, add turning lanes, things like this, that's
Correct.
your understanding?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Commissioners, any additional questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward, or the representative, and talk about their application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Paul Cosboth, A1 Development Solutions, based out of Sioux Falls, 101 South Phillips Avenue. Just out of respect of your time, I won't go through everything we talked about last time. Obviously, happy to answer questions. Just thought we'd give you a few updates. As Toby just pointed out, we'd met with the highway superintendent. We talked through any concerns he might have on 291st. And we all agreed, hey, a traffic study probably makes sense if this is approved. Let's have it based on what the projected traffic is, plus everything that's there today. And a turning lane was really the question that the highway superintendent had as well. In this stretch of road with this level of traffic, from a safety perspective, should we add a turning lane? So what the agreement was, as Toby also just mentioned, the applicant would pay for that study. We've contacted a couple engineers that said they'd be happy to do it. They do these. They know exactly what the state requires, DOT, all the different rules to it. So we'd be ready to launch that right away upon approval. The one engineer said they figured by about mid-July they could probably have it done. They'd actually get out there and do counts, and then they go through and find out, everything they need to know to do a comprehensive study. So that's been agreed to, and then also part of that agreement with the highway department is, hey, if that's what needs to be done, then that's what would get done, and we'd work together on making sure whatever needed to happen there would happen. So just maybe a couple other quick pieces outside of that. We did also look at DOT study. It's public info that's out there. The last traffic count, at least that I saw, the DOT has for 291st across that entire stretch, which I think is maybe 4.5, 5 miles from the interstate to, I think it's 466th, is 795 average count traffic a day. This is back from 2024. So there's a lot of traffic out there, no doubt. Obviously, what we're talking about adding here is actually a pretty small percentage of it, even though it sounds like a big number. But there again, traffic study would take all of that into account. And then there was one question last time too that I thought maybe worth addressing a little bit more. I think it was Commissioner Scott that asked, just in terms of operations. And just like with the dairies, these facilities do operate 24 hours a day. much slower at night. It's not an exact number, don't hold me to it, probably 80% of all of the traffic associated would be between normal hours, I'd say 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night. Are there some trucks that would come and go at night? Sometimes, you know, you think of our weather here, milk that should have been delivered during the day maybe doesn't get delivered and it needs to be later. I mean, just those things that of course happen, but that's just to give you a little better idea of kind of what the normal operations look like. The trucking companies want to operate during normal hours too. That's it for updates for us. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Paul. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
I guess I have one, if I could.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So you said, and I don't recall it verbatim, but to the extent that, you know, a traffic study needs to be done, and between you and the highway superintendent, that whatever needs to be done will be done, whether it's a turning lane. I guess that doesn't tell me whether or not the applicant agrees to pay for, or a percentage of, or what your thoughts are associated with the cost that the county may incur in that.
That's a great question. One of the things that Terry had talked about as part of his planning as well is what do they need to do in the future? What are some things that road needs with or without this expansion? So I would say where that was left, it was everybody would work together collaboratively, and he wouldn't expect the facility here to pay something that was an unfair amount to them as if it was 100% their responsibility. The turning lane would obviously pertain to this, so the expectation would be most of that's going to fall on the facility. But that was the agreement with Terry, is we'd have to work through what was fair together based on his guidance.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Okay?
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in support of the application, please come forward.
Hello, Jeremy Hanish, 46209 280th Street, Lenox. I just want to say we did the electrical for Red Rock, and I just don't know how many of you guys get out there to meet them. They've been great to work with. They've been very positive, and as far as my company out of Lenox, it was a great fit for us, and I hope it lasts for a long time. It's been all positive, so I am for the milk plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right, anybody else in favor of the application? I do have, oh, yes, sir.
Paul Rivers, 1016 Angel Lane, Canton, South Dakota. I travel a lot of those roads because I have a fuel delivery business that I deliver in that area. The roads past the dairy are wonderful compared to what they were before the dairy came. So I don't know all the particulars who paid for what, but that used to be a minimum maintenance road, and it's a far cry from minimum maintenance road anymore. As far as appearance of the dairy, went past a lot of places that maybe shouldn't be cleaned up. The dairy's never, you don't see an old car sitting in the trees, you don't see old equipment sitting in the trees. Also, I'm on a planning and zoning board for the city of Canton. I'm also a commissioner for the city of Canton. I understand where you guys are sitting, and a decision needs to be made. But I guess I'm a firm believer, you got your ordinances in front of you. If you follow them, you can't go wrong. And I'm in support of the expansion.
Thank you, Paul. All right, anybody else in favor of the application? With that, I have a letter here in support, and I think I'll read this at this time. This is from the Beersford School District, dated June 12th, 2025. The subject is letter of support and appreciation for the Tim Dendolk family of companies. The Beersford School District has benefited from the leadership and entrepreneurship provided by Mr. Tim Dendolk. Through the addition of the dairy and subsequent projects The district has benefited from increased enrollment, grant contributions, and a willing partner for impact projects and developed infrastructure within our boundaries that adds to our capital outlay valuations and revenue. When more children enter our doors, we benefit from additional opportunities for all of our learners and from additional state aid from the state of South Dakota, dollars that enter our general fund. When we have more development in our district, we benefit from increased capital outlay dollars utilized to improve maintenance with our infrastructure. When Dendolk families' operations increase their workforce, we typically benefit from families investing in our community and send their children to our school. The Beersford School District has over 600 learners. Of our 600-plus learners, over 8% are open enrolled learners. They choose our district over their local district. And over 5% of our population is in our multi-language learner program. Without both categories, our district would be in an enrollment predicament. The Dendolk family helped provide grant support to our district. Grant support dollars were investments in our students and staff. The support helped us meet our needs of the kids who enter our district and are learning English as a second language. Students in the MLL program speak English as a second language. Our program started to develop in the 2017-2018 school year. During the 2017-18 school year, we had our first student enter our district. Today, we serve over 45 students, preschool, elementary, middle, and high school. To help our students experience success, we have invested in training our teachers by finding exceptional teachers and paraprofessionals to work on our MLL population. We are helping our MLL population learn English and are helping our MLL population acquire content skills and knowledge related to various curriculum experiences they have each day. In addition to providing grant support, the Dendolk family of companies help our activities live their excellence. Our activity groups cover silage piles. In turn, significant contributions are made to the group's custodial account. Those contributions allow groups to have team experiences, new equipment, and much more. More importantly, when our groups cover silage piles, they engage in team bonding and experience that require grit, tenacity, and perseverance. I consider a school district fortunate to have the Dendolk family of companies operating within our boundaries. Respectfully, Dr. Dustin Deegan. All right. With that, is there any other comments for the applicant? Seeing none, I'll ask for anyone in opposition of the application. Please.
She'll use the overhead out to be able to put a paper on. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, sounds good. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bethany Eric, and I live at 46747 291st Street. Like I mentioned last month, I'm at the halfway point on the mile between the two dairies. And while what you have represented here, we had some positive statements from Canton, from Lennox, from Beersford, none of them live where I do. So what I'm here to do tonight is to show you what I live with on a daily basis and ask for your support and help in defending my territory, my land, from the noise, from the light pollution, and from the smell of the property that we have incurred in our area. I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm saying that there's some policies here that we need to possibly look at improving. So, again, 467, 467, 291st Street, Centerville, South Dakota, 57014. I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to mention Toby's staff report that recommends approval. And the reason why I'm going to mention that is because there's a couple erroneous things that I feel are erroneous. When we're looking at this, should not adversely affect adjacent properties. Hello? Very much affects me, okay? So that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to that. Furthermore, we have it listed in the conditional use section, the noise, odor, traffic, and water pollution, and other negative factors will be eliminated through screening. There's no mention of screening anywhere in their site plan. No, the setbacks are there, but where's the screening? How about some trees? Guys, you can get carbon credits for planting trees. So maybe they could help me out just a little bit there with that. Maybe that could be an additional condition that we could add in an effort to help us. When I prove the fact that it is definitely affecting my property, you're going to ask, just what is, as my responsibility as a planning and zoning commission member, this is your document here. And it talks about step 1 is their application, step 2 is public hearing, that's where we are. Step 3, if approved, they are required to maintain compliance. And I'm here to prove to you that they have not thus far, okay? So this is your right. Any non-compliance is sufficient cause to subject the permit to review and possible revocation. Important information for you guys to know, I just wanted to provide that for you. These are the meeting minutes from 2023, March 20th, that I printed off. The conditional use permit, roll call vote, all the information is there. The key point here, there, number 4, there shall be no indication of offensive noise, odor, smoke, dust, or glare beyond the property line. I've got evidence to show you, and I've actually got a video to play, but I understand that sometimes due to time constraints, we're not allowed to do that. I went out last night, took a picture from my driveway. This lights up the highway. Looks like a baseball stadium out there. This is distracting to traffic going nearby. If we're gonna add that much traffic, you guys gotta put some screening on those lights. You've got to. The night sky has changed. The dark night sky is gone. As far as the photography aspect, I can't shoot the night sky anymore. This is the other dairy looking west. So their whole operation hasn't followed the conditional use permit because number 4 was a condition in every single permit. Every one of them. They haven't followed it. Now, noise. I used 5 different applications here to show how much noise was at my property. That's 88 decibels at 11 o'clock at night. This was 2023. Guys, I have 4 years of this showing that there's documentation. 100 decibels, 95 decibels. They're in the hearing damage zone. If my hearing finds to be inept at any point, I have grounds to bring litigation. Here's a couple more. Here's my front porch. 88, 89. I have plenty more of these if anybody wants to see more of them. But I think it's a valid point to say that the light pollution and the noise has not been followed, and that can I get a show of hands of everybody in this room that has smelled the dairy?
Ma'am, will you address your comments to us, please?
Absolutely. So that is what I'm here to prove to you. Can we strengthen our conditions if we do approve this so that we as a community do not have to endure this? I sure appreciate that. And I thank you for your time and listening, and I hope this provides you with some information for the future. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'll ask anybody else in opposition of the application, please.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Tavet, and I live at 46802 292nd Street, Beersford, South Dakota, 57004. I live in Brooklyn Township. I live approximately 1.25 miles straight south of this proposed building. Please do not allow it to go through. I encourage each one of you on the Planning Commission to come out for yourself. Smell the smells. Since those digesters were put in, it has significantly increased. And as Bethany had mentioned, the lighting, it looks like a couple of stadiums out there. And that's not counting the Olympic-size flame coming out. It really, I would really encourage you to take in the sight, take in the sounds, take in the smells. As Bethany had mentioned, the people that spoke in positive affirmation for this earlier, they aren't living around this dairy. They're living in different towns. And the gentleman that spoke earlier, he's from Sioux Falls. He's not dealing with this. We live out there. This is our home. This has gone way beyond what it was supposed to be. And now that the camel's nose is underneath the tent, and I'm just afraid the whole thing is just really going to get worse and worse. And now we're talking about increasing the traffic flow by 5 times. It's already a safety concern. And I know you've heard that before. Please do not approve this. At minimum, pause it, investigate it further. Don't approve this tonight. This is not a yes vote. This needs further investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in opposition of the application?
Good evening. Dwayne Carlson, 29287, 467th Avenue, Centerville, South Dakota. We've had a lot of traffic concerns, a lot of safety issues, and there has been a lot more increased costs involved to the townships and to the people in the townships since this entity has come. I know sometimes it looks like we're picking on these people, but we're not trying to. We're trying to just keep status quo here. For our gravel concerns and for our road safety, we dropped the speed limit to 30 miles an hour for anything over 5 ton because we just couldn't handle the dust and can't handle all those heavy trucks all the time. The township has limited funds, and it's gone way beyond what we can handle for road maintenance. We've asked for help multiple times, and we don't seem to be getting this. We have a couple other options here, and we've never closed a road, never stopped this facility from using any of our roads. We've had one road closure for a bridge that needs to be replaced, and this year we didn't even close that road. We let them under the assumption that they were going to be good neighbors and adhere to the 10-ton limits, and that never happened this year. We had multiple crossings again that it's scheduled to be replaced this month. But the neighborly acts haven't been there, and that's what we're looking for. The communication, the neighborly acts. I had a whole list of things to throw in front of you tonight that I think that we should have, if you're going to approve this, I think the township should have more terms put in place for road preservation, paving requirements, damages on these roads. We actually want the county to take them over. If we're not going to get help, if you approve these types of permits, we'd just assume the county take them over and pave the roads. You know, these types of things, this road study needs to be done before this commission acts on giving a proposed conditional permit. I mean, why would you put the cart before the horse? It just doesn't seem right. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Holmberg. I live at 46551 293rd Street, Centerville, South Dakota. I live on my family's homestead, and we've been there for getting close to 150 years now. I'm approximately 2.5 miles from the dairy as the crow flies. I am also here representing Brooklyn Township as the chairman. And I have concerns about the entity continuing to expand and impact our community. My concerns are the same as those that have been stated before. We're very concerned, obviously, about the roads, but we're also concerned about, be it the water system, the noise, the light, the smell, all of these things are a concern to the citizens in this area, not just the township. As a citizen of this area, I'm concerned about this. I'm also concerned that this is not the end of the expansion. You know, have they told you their future expansion plans? How many more phases are there? You know, how much bigger is this going to get? One of my mother's favorite sayings was moderation in all things, which is such a true statement. You know, this has gone beyond moderation now. This has become a huge entity. And being in Brooklyn Township, I know that this condensing plant is a separate thing, but it's still involved with the two dairies that are there. It's involved with the digester that's there. And the adult family are part owners in all of these things and other dairies. You know, they're saying that it's going to increase from 10 loads to 50 loads, but is that the end of it? Have we heard what their real plans are? It's going to affect this area even more and more all the time. You know, as far as traffic counts, as Dwayne mentioned, why wouldn't you do a traffic count ahead of time? And it was stated here that, I don't remember the exact year that they said that they gave you the numbers for the traffic count. Or was that before the dairy came or after the dairy came? Because a lot of the increase has been by the dairy, and now it's going to increase more. So what percentage would the dairy be paying of road maintenance here? Also in Brooklyn Township, we have 469th Avenue, which is Highway 111. We have Highway 152, which is on 494th Street. Those are also being used and affected. I wish Terry would have been here to, you know, actually say what has taken place on some of these roads and the damage that's being done. You know, I'm a little disappointed he's not here to explain to you what has been happening to those roads. Those of us that live out there have seen the damage that's being done, not just to Brooklyn township roads, but to the highways in our area. This is heavy traffic, and these roads that have been mentioned were not designed for that kind of heavy traffic. You know, what used to be Highway 17, 466th, that one is originally designed for that kind of weight. The rest of them were never designed for that. So I guess I would ask that you deny this application and deny the conditional use permit until a number of these issues are addressed. Noise, water, you know, all these things that need to be tested before you give them another permit. There's a lot of people here in opposition to this, and there's a reason they're here. None of these people over here are been happy with what's been going on. So please, I would ask that you deny this permit until more study is done anyway to find out what's really going on. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Chad Baldwin, 46743, 287th Street, Centerville, South Dakota.
I'm a Delaware Township Supervisor. I guess I've talked to some of the residents and kind of put some stuff together on what they had issues with. I haven't done anything like this for 35 years plus, so I'm assuming my speech teacher would probably not be happy when I'm done with this, but here we go. I'm here tonight as part of to protect our neighbors, my rights, and our way of life. The milk processing plant is a facility in an industrial use propped up by an agricultural foundation. We all understand that the evolution of farming can change as crops, we get more increased, we increase yields, we're gonna have more traffic, untraditional practices, bigger equipment, and everything has to evolve. We say the usage doesn't fit in any other zoning areas, therefore it belongs here. These areas are defined in comprehensive plan that the commission adopts. This document is a guide, and a guide only. It should remain a living document that adapts and changes to move our county forward with the well-being of the majority in mind. Where we live is not a convenient area. It's 20 roughly miles to any grocery store, 15 minutes for an ambulance or fire department to make a response. And our kids have long trips to school on school buses, but that's the way of life we chose. We ask the question, where will it end? We would all like to know how far the infrastructure will be eroded. The overused road systems and dwindling water sources and general abuse of the land must have an end point. We hope someone can tell us the end point. I also did talk to Terry Floyd, the superintendent, and we visited about the hall study that they were doing and stuff. I also support not to give this conditional use permit until that is done. I think that we should find out exactly what's going on, because it is more than just 291st, because they come in off the Fairview Road, I don't remember, that would be 288. I've seen them, it's just to get everything figured out, I think that has to be part of it. The Lincoln County Commission has set a precedence in this type of situation. Dakota Steel was denied an expansion request. The commission denied this because neighbors were concerned about the increased traffic, expanded hours of activity, and light pollution. Reasons are identical to the concerns of these citizens. I understand that this is a spot zone commercial property, but the process is the same, just a different verbiage. They brought trucks of product in, they processed things, and they took trucks out. The only difference is it was steel versus milk. Let's remember things, this corporation came here from somewhere else because it was being regulated. They didn't come here to improve the area, they didn't come here to grow with the community. They came here to take advantage of untapped resources and make profit. The resources were water and land. The ability is to manipulate. It came from inexperienced leadership to deal with these new invasive species of agriculture. They utilize polished speakers and experienced legal representation to continue to drive the goals forward. Those of us that are burdened to live in this area are simply collateral damage. If we continue to let this be allowed, our quality of life is sacrificed. But please let us have the protections of road haul agreements, water testing, and annual meetings and actions to protect the residents of the area. Your legal counsel will tell you these decisions have ramifications. Every decision in government bears the possibility. When it comes to the use of tax dollars, using them to defend the citizens of their life through legal costs, I believe the majority will applaud. Government is for the people, by the people. In closing, I would like to consider the wise words of Eleanor Roosevelt. Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad, very well written. All right, anybody else in opposition of the application would like to speak?
Philip Christopherson, 46410, 287th Street, Centerville, South Dakota, Delaware Township. Yes, we have a road agreement with the dairy, but this is going to change conditions drastically on a couple, probably about 3 or 4 of our miles that the state helped them build. And, we're reconsidering, and I remember when we first put the condenser in, one of their points they made is it's going to decrease traffic. And I guess maybe it probably did, but now this is going to increase it way beyond what it originally was planned for. I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else would like to speak?
Hi, James Westra, 29054, 472nd Avenue, Beersford. My concerns are the added traffic and already present safety issues. So rolling through stop signs is a very common occurrence with the dairy truck and equipment traffic in our area. My family and friends have been witness to and participants in a number of those close calls. Tankers rolling through the stop signs add an additional safety concern as the liquid inside the tanker will slosh back and forth once they try to stop. And that truck will be pushed along and increase the stopping distance. My wife and I have contacted the sheriff's department and the dairy owners about the issue, but still see it happening. And increased law enforcement patrols in our area during high traffic times like silage and manure seasons are already a need. Adding additional traffic will only enhance the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else like to speak?
Dave Gillespie, 1125 East Elder Street, Canton, South Dakota, formerly rural Canton. Good evening, everybody. County Road 146, which is what's called the Viborg Oil. County Road, 291st Street. They want to go from 10 trucks a day to 50. That's 5 times what there is now. I'm not sure the substrate can even handle that. I wish Terry would have been here tonight to discuss some of that. But there's been several things that have happened that I've been told. One time they took an excavator and cut through a township road to run a urethane pipe through it without permission. And I don't know how far back that was, Steve or Dwayne would have that information. That's uncalled for. These people are all readily accessible by telephone. I don't understand it. I was told the other day that lagoon water on an irrigation pivot was being pumped by a tail gun when it got to the edge of the right-of-way or to the edge of the field, water was being deposited on the township road, lagoon water, and in the ditch. That's uncalled for. It seems like the conditions that have been placed in the past, and I served on the commission when Governor Dugard called this value-added ag. And Mr. Wester, who's sitting in the back of the audience, said, we can live with 4,250 head. We can live with that. Now we're looking at, what, 3 times that? And then 10 times the tanker loads? 5 times, I should say? Conditions aren't always followed as they should be. And I know Toby's office does the best they can. But it's kind of a genie that's gotten out of the bottle, that's uncontrollable. And I would appreciate a no vote on this until further information can be achieved. I don't think the taxpayers of Lincoln County should be on the hook for installing a turning lane. They cost a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, anybody else would like to speak in opposition? Going once? All right, with that, I'll close the floor to public input. And I'll ask for applicant to come forward and we'll talk through a few of this.
Yes.
All right, Paul, you heard some of the concerns of the neighbors and people in the area. Could you help work through some of those?
Sure, gladly do my best. As far as the traffic study, you know, if that was a condition, just to make sure that's in the permit that can be held to, the commitment is there to go do that with the approval of the permit. Make sure that that's done correctly, again, working with the highway superintendent. And expectation, like was mentioned earlier, turning lane is specific to this, so the expectation would be that everybody will agree that that's where that cost should fall. What our discussion was with Terry is on the rest of the road, the mat and all the other use. To me, Brett was there, Brett Rosenboom, CRO for Red Rock. When we met with Terry, didn't express any other concerns in terms of the road condition and the traffic that's out there. But again, I would just reiterate, we all agreed, yeah, we should work together. Let's go get this traffic study done to actually get some true guidance on what's there, what's being added, and should something happen. Again, turning lane being the primary thing. I can't speak to the dairy operation pieces that are separate from the plant. I mean, obviously, there's been some concerns, some consternation, some miscommunications over time. I just honestly cannot speak to those because I don't know. I would say light that was shown from the plant, I don't believe that would be considered obtrusive or extended beyond the facility. I mean, you can always see lights in the distance, but I don't think we're talking direct lights. If it's not the type of lighting that was approved back when it was approved or what was required, I'm sure that could certainly be looked at. I can't imagine anybody would be opposed to that. Trying to think of anything else. Again, with the operations in a road that was cut through, any of that had to do with dairy stuff, I just honestly don't know and couldn't answer to that happening. I do know that the group, the family, the owners have reached out. They have been trying to work together. I think you've probably seen through a lot of communication. It isn't like there's been no communication. There has been attempts. There's been haul road agreements that have been sent back and forth. There's been attempts recently to get together that hasn't worked out. You know, it certainly takes both sides being committed to try to figure something out. I know when we go back to when this was first approved, there was a lot of discussion again about Brooklyn Township, and it's separate, but yes, it all matters. And there's been a lot of attempts to try to come to an agreement that's fair and reasonable. And that's all anybody wants to do, is come up with what's fair, reasonable, try to be a good neighbor, try to work together. Things come up, there's a lot of activity. This is a great operation, a lot of investment. But of course, with anything and all operations of any kind in any industry, there's always challenges. So the goal is to continue to work together. The goal is to continue to try to move forward and do the right things as they come up. Again, like the traffic study, everybody agreed that makes sense as part of this expansion. If it's approved, let's go do that. Have it be a condition of it so that everybody knows that this has to happen. This comes with the project and the approval. Future growth plans, there aren't any. As it stands today, the reason the permit is being set up, even though if you go back to the first meeting that Toby had mentioned, normal situation, it would have been an administrative approval. Correct me if I'm saying that wrong, Toby. But everybody agreed, hey, if this works out well and the opportunity presents itself to grow again, we're going to be back in front of the commission. We're going to be back in front of the neighbors to talk about it. And that's what we're doing here, and that's what's in this request as well. So that goes back to, I guess, our ask being, can we focus on the pieces that we're trying to focus on here, acknowledging that the other pieces are being worked on and continue to be and still need to be, and that is the intent, and set the guidelines for what this expansion looks like, and then go do our best to make sure all of those are carried out and everybody's held to task to do their part.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Anything else? Anyone?
No.
I'll come back.
Well, thank you.
If you think so. Thank you.
All right. With that, I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll make the motion with the 4 conditions as listed in the staff report. Green?
Second, Boots for discussion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's have a discussion, commissioners.
I have a question for Toby, if I could, for the
Me
discussion.
as well, if you, Mr. Chair, if you could ask him to come back up.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, could you answer some questions for us, please?
If you don't mind, Mr. Scott, I'll start. Okay with that? As far as compliance, how many, and I apologize, I wasn't here last month. How many complaints have you received on this property regarding issues from the conditions when this was initially approved?
No written complaints.
No written complaints?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's important because, as we've discussed many times in the planning commission, this is a self-policing system, right? To where, generally speaking, because of whether it's staffing or whatever, unless there's a complaint, you're not just out there looking for things.
So I'll clarify, because I heard a groan over here, is that we did receive a complaint regarding the traffic, or concerns with safety traffic. We did turn that over to the sheriff's office, but there's that, in relation to this particular property, this particular applicant, no complaints have been received on this application.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Scott.
Okay. Yeah, and that brings up a point. I don't know if we need to explain it or not, but basically what we're dealing with down there is 3 different conditional use permits, right? And so when you say this applicant, you're talking about the milk condensing, or the applicant for this application. So for this application, or the folks that are applying for this, how many formal complaints have you received?
Red Rock Dairy?
Yeah.
None. No,
Okay.
non-formal complaints. No.
As far as the original conditional use permit, and I believe Ms. Eric brought up the need for screening as one of those conditions. Was that part of the original conditional use?
No.
Okay.
No.
So where'd that come from?
Well, it's a condition of approval, or a standard of approval that you're supposed to evaluate those things. Or a criteria, I should say, a criteria for approval that you would look at those things. So this is I've mentioned to you this before, is that this particular conditional use permit has no standards associated with it. It has no landscaping standards, it has no traffic standards, all those types of things. So I'd also stress out, I should have said this before, is when staff recommends approval of this, we're speaking for the zoning ordinance, where it's not me personally. Some of these things I personally don't agree with, it's really staff is looking at it from a professional standpoint, we're looking at what the ordinance requires. The agricultural aid operation, I'll reference back to is, that, I've talked to both townships about this. This is a use that's required under the zoning ordinance. It's the law. It's a use that says if you're an agricultural aid operation, it's in the A1 zoning district. If at some time the Board of Commissioners says they don't agree with that, then they would change that as a policy standpoint. But our role tonight is, as a quasi judicial standpoint, is to say, is this in conformance with the regulations? Now, tonight was the first night we really talked about like noise and about the lighting and stuff like that. If that's a condition you would like to add to this permit, that they have some screening or that they have downward lighting or those different types of things. What I would tell you is that we don't typically, when we do downward lighting, we do that on commercial industrial type uses, and I know there's an argument whether that's commercial industrial, but in agricultural related operations, we don't typically restrict that because there is no restriction in the agricultural area for lighting standpoint in that. But I apologize, I rambled there if I got into your question, I guess, but.
Well, no, that's fine. But basically what you're saying, in that original CUP, because I didn't remember that either, but my memory isn't great. But there was not a condition, that required screening. I mean, I know we do that for some things,
Correct.
but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a standard criteria for review. If at the time of the public hearing you determine that that's a condition that you want staff to enforce, then you would add that as a condition of
Correct.
approval.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it wasn't in the first one.
correct.
Okay. That covers my questions.
All right, Commissioner, since staff is up here, do you have any other questions for Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I do have one, and maybe I should have asked earlier, because I know it was asked over here, and I've just make sure I've got it wrote down. That 795 vehicles for traffic count, did I write that down right? That was 2024?
That was a DOT count, yeah.
DOT count?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had that note wrote down correctly. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Brown. All right, Commissioners, we got a little bit more information. Does that spark any other discussion? We got time, we want to do it right, so
Yeah,
we can think through a few things.
I've got some thoughts. I was just waiting to see what Mr. Green usually.
I'm
has
always
something
interested in
good.
your thoughts, Mr. Scott. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, I guess the first thing I'd like to discuss is the road study, because I'm a little back and forth on that too. I'm not sure why that wouldn't be done first. It was, at first I was thinking, well, obviously you wouldn't know what the impact was until the new facility was built, and so maybe that's why you would do it afterwards, but the way it sounds is it's something that's gonna happen, could possibly happen by mid-July. So I don't know why we wouldn't wait probably and do that. I mean, I love the idea that everybody's on a handshake and everybody's gonna do what's right, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we seen the study and we had an agreement on what was, maybe what was gonna happen. So I guess that's the first topic I'd like to discuss, amongst us, is what everybody's thoughts are on the road study.
Commissioners?
Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I get on the road study, it's kind of hard to know. Again, just like Commissioner Scott said, you don't know what the traffic study is going to be, we do know what it is of now. We don't know what it's going to be as of then, so it would be nice to have the study done first, but I can see it either way, why would be after the fact.
I guess I struggle with 2024 to now. I guess to me, I'm more interested in the delta, which is after the fact, right? If it's 795 in 2024, I think generally speaking, we could probably reasonably assume it's probably quasi similar to that versus when this is built, what the impacts are, if it increases from the 795 to whatever that new number is. Like, that delta to me is more interesting than doing a, second road study. And then, but I just wouldn't know how you would assess the difference between the two after the fact, right? Oh, it's my struggle.
Well, and I think that's one of the questions I've got. And the answer that I'm hearing is that if this study was done and was completed by mid-July or this summer, whenever, whatever things they plug into that, that there would be a recommendation at that time of what needs to happen, if anything, to the road. So I don't think it's something that has to be 2 years down the road after this would be, at least that's my understanding. I'm obviously no road expert. But that's what I was hearing Mr. Kospel say. And Terry isn't here to ask, so I don't know. So I guess that's the only information I have so far. And I guess if that's all the information I have, I'm like, well, why don't we just wait then?
So I'll add my comment on that. I realize when we are looking at conditional use permit, we look at everything, the environment, everything around it. But again, a county road and Terry being in charge of the county, I don't know if that falls into us, adding conditions or whatever for Terry's road. I know he likes to have his agreements, directly and work through that way. Planning commission doesn't do roads. We do we look at the impact and all that sort of stuff, but, we don't determine turn lanes, fast, slow, widths, stuff like that. So that's where I'm at on that subject. Yeah,
and I don't disagree with that. That we 100% don't do roads. That's why I'd like the experts to do the roads and tell us.
Okay, let's think on that one a little bit. What other thoughts do we have? We could come back to that one, or?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The other thing that I would think about adding is screening. I mean, that seems like something simple, just to plant trees.
I was thinking the same
We
thing.
do it on CAFOs, we do it on about any storage unit around. I mean, that's just a pretty common condition that we add to a lot of things, and that's not hard. It's not a huge expense. I don't think that would be a big thing if we added that condition, that we, screen it with trees. That I think would be quite simple. So I guess I'll just start there. I'll move to add a fifth condition, to add screening, trees, whatever whatever Toby has as a requirement. So I'd move that.
So you're amending the motion to add a fifth condition to add screening for the facility? Or
Correct.
for actually, not the facility, but this conditional use?
Correct. Which would be, this facility. It wouldn't apply to the other things. The other 2 or 3 operations that are going on, it would just be this one.
All right, we have a motion for that. We could have a second and then have a discussion on that amendment.
Second, Boots.
All right, what's the rest of the commission think about adding condition number 5?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
My struggle with it is, I think immediately, like, trees are great. 20 years from now, that doesn't help the neighbor now, right? Depending on how you define what the tree is, if it's a minimum planted 8-foot tall tree, or if it's go to the local tree nursery and buy some 2-foot trees and plant them, and in 15 to 20 years, you have, some sort of screening criteria, I guess. I am unsure how that works in Toby's world, but, you know, from that perspective, I just think, you know, screening as far as trees are concerned and all of that, I guess it just does not, to me, provide any immediate relief to the neighbors, so.
Screening could be fences too. Since, you know, in ag, we don't require screening usually on anything, so we don't, this is, in ag directly, this is something we've not approached before.
Chair, can I comment? There is a 6-foot fence around the whole facility right now. And it's the chain link fence, but it has the inserts in it.
Okay, thank you. All right, any additional question on, or conversation on the amendment? If not, I will do a roll call for adding condition number 5. I'm keeping track here, so excuse me for going slower. All right, Commissioner Boots?
It's fence there. No.
Commissioner Green?
No.
Commissioner Otten?
I will be abstaining as the commission rep, but I have no conflict of interest.
Commissioner,
Scott?
sorry, where are we at? Sorry. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Tiebreaker Jerry.
Yeah, that leaves to me. You know, I'm going to say yes on this one. Additional screening can only help. Noise, light, anything we can do. All right, so now we have amended motion. We have 5 conditions to vote on. We have a motion for approval and a second. So we can still
Mr.
have
Chair,
further discussion.
since we've talked about the road agreement, is that maybe something we want to make as a 6th? Conditional use for on here?
You can sure make that motion, yes.
I'll make that motion
Okay, and that is,
to do the road study prior to,
To the construction.
yes.
Yep.
so the CUP would be conditional on the road study being completed.
Correct.
Yes, especially if we're talking it could happen within a few months. We're not talking a couple years, so it would not be a big holdup to this project.
I'll second that. I think it puts some teeth into it.
All right, so the motion is to, we can, if we approve this tonight, it doesn't become active until the road study is completed. Traffic study, sorry.
Traffic study, yeah.
Okay. Any additional discussion on that? I'd like to ask Mr. Brown a question, if we could. I've been here a little while. We haven't done one like this before, Toby. Would, that is an option. We could vote affirmative tonight, but it doesn't officially become active until the road study is complete.
Usually, you've done this in the past, you would say prior to issuance of a building permit, traffic impact study is completed and accepted by the highway superintendent.
Good.
So the conditional easement would take effect, it's just staff can't issue a building permit until that's completed.
Okay.
That sounds cleaner. I
Yeah,
like
that
that.
makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Any additional discussion on that one?
I appreciate Toby.
Very much.
Start for the day. Employee of the night. All right, with that, if there's no other discussion, we'll take roll call. Commissioner Boots?
Yes. Just to clarify, we're voting
sir.
on we're voting just on the added sixth condition.
Correct.
Yep.
Added sixth condition that we will not issue a building permit until after the road's traffic study is complete.
Correct. Okay.
Accepted by the
And
superintendent.
accepted by the highway superintendent. Yep.
All right, Commissioner Boots?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Otten?
Once again, I will be abstaining, but I have no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted?
Yes.
I will also be a yes. All right, we have the original conditional use permit amended twice. We now have conditions number 5 and number 6 on there, in addition to the 4 conditions listed on the screen. So now we're back to additional discussion.
You know, I guess, some of the concerns that were brought up that I took notes of, whereas the noise and the odor were brought up by multiple people. I mean, is there anything, I grew up on a dairy farm, this is part of growing up on a farm, but, not to this scale. So, I mean, is there anything that, I've been by those digesters and, haven't spent, a substantial amount of time by them, but, is there anything that we can do to try and, especially with this expansion, is that gonna increase the amount that those digesters produce? I guess I wasn't here last month, so I didn't hear the full discussion on that. So that's just my concern. If it's already to a certain level, is this expansion gonna increase it that much more? And so I just, looking through my notes, I just noticed that the noise and the odor was multiple people had brought that up, so I just wanted to see if anybody else had any discussion on that.
I guess my thoughts, which is why I asked Mr. Brown the question, is how many complaints have we had, right? Like, and if the answer is 0 associated with that, not saying that it happens to be a good talking point tonight, but, it typically is what is brought up when there are people opposed to this, right? But that's why I say this is a self-policing system. It's a whole lot easier if we were to ask Toby how many complaints he's received, and if the answer was once a month, then, but if the answer is 0.
But I was just, asking, what would this increase in production, create, a potential for more?
Sure.
What was my question?
Yeah, and I would say, Commissioner, instead that we are looking at different entities too.
Okay,
Digesters, I believe, is a different company than.
okay. I didn't know if
the
that
milk
was
processor.
associated with this one or not.
Yeah, and I'm, just different entities, different
Okay.
businesses, and, I don't know how one affects the other, to be honest with you. No, it's definitely a good talking point, good thought.
Realistically, it's hard to separate all of the businesses together though, right? They're all so close, they're all part of the same deal. Understanding that this is a separate conditional use permit, but, as a citizen that sits on this board, like, it's genuinely a concern, right? Like that's, so it's hard to separate all 3 when they're all technically under the same larger umbrella.
So that was my thought too, as well. You gotta increase production to, help feed the production here. Well, you gotta increase production in your dairies to help aid this. Well, and that's gonna produce more traffic during silage production and more manure production, more manure trucks out there running around. So it's not just traffic specific to this conditional use permit, it's also, is it gonna be more dairy cattle getting brought in and those, so those other conditional use permits are gonna be, or those other facilities are gonna be ramped up too, so it's, we're looking at this one, but then, second, third order effects are also impacting that same, group of citizens.
Yep, that is true.
Mr. Chair, would it help if I don't know if that was a question?
Sorry, we've closed the floor. Thank you.
No, I'm just trying to get clarification, man, I wasn't here last week, and I was just trying to
Yep.
get some information from you guys of, some more information on it to educate me better.
I think you're right. With any business, it would, whether it's this or, I gotta learn to not Kmart, no more Kmarts, but, with any business, additions will bring more, yes.
I assume either way, no matter, if we were to take a vote tonight, no matter what, it's gonna come before the Board of Commissioners, right? I think there's going to be people that petition if it's approved. I assume there will be, if it's disapproved, there will also be, people that come forward trying to take it to the commission, so I'm ready to vote tonight.
All right, any other comments?
I'll just echo, yeah, I mean, we've moved it to this month. We've put a few more conditions to it. Again, there's one more spot beyond us, so I'm ready to vote also tonight.
All right, unless there's any other motions, we will take a roll call.
So we're voting with the added on the whole. The motion now is the original 4 conditions with the added 5 and 6, correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yep, the conditions shown, condition number 5 to add screening, and condition number 6, that building permit will not be issued until the traffic study is completed and handed to the
And approved.
superintendent, and approved by the superintendent.
Okay.
Let's start at the other side. Commissioner Ensted.
No.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Commissioner Otten.
Again, I will be abstaining as the Lincoln County Commission rep, but I have no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Boots.
Yes.
I am also a yes. All right, that is that item. We now go to item number 2, which is a conditional use permit.
This next item again is a conditional use permit for a garden center. Subject property is approximately 2 miles to the west of the city of Harrisburg. This property is adjacent to South Dakota Highway 11. Subject property is zoned A1 agricultural, as is all surrounding properties. Subject property was originally a farmstead. That has all been, the farmstead has been removed from the property essentially. Applicant did submit an application to our office to construct 2 buildings on the property that would be utilized as a garden center. As you recall, we've had a lot of discussion in the past that within the zoning regulations, there's not a definition for a garden center. Staff has supplied a definition on previous applications, which staff did include with the application. Again, this is an agricultural use that is allowable by a conditional use permit. This is, under the comprehensive plan, it is identified as a planned growth area. Staff has worked with this staff from the city of Harrisburg regarding this request. Their concern was, again, this is along a state highway, so we typically get some approval from the South Dakota DOT as far as driveway access with that. That was a condition that staff's recommending for condition for approval of it. So as part of the staff analysis, we did look at the criteria of the conditional use permit for it. Identified again that this area is governed under the comp plan for planned growth area. The city of Harrisburg does not have an identified land use for this property or for future land use of this property. So for that guidance, it would stay as the underlying zoning, which should be A1 agricultural. There is no need to rezone this property at this time because again, it is a, whoops, I got the wrong one there. So there's no need to rezone the property since this is an allowable use in the A1 agricultural zoning district. There is a number of, the surrounding property is general agricultural type use property. To the north of this, 2 properties away, the county did approve a rezone to commercial for contractors or for warehousing, outdoor warehousing on the property. And so there is adjacent commercial to this property. The rest of it is essentially agricultural property. A lot of the surrounding properties are original farmsteads, so a lot of them have been there for quite a while with that area. Staff doesn't anticipate any substantial increase in odor, traffic, noise, or water pollution associated with this potential application. So staff has had a lot of discussions with the applicant, and we did post the property. The applicant did send a letter notification of the public hearing to adjacent properties. As of this period, we've had no questions or concerns from adjacent property owners. Staff does recommend approval of this application with the 5 conditions that were listed in the staff report to address any concerns that might be of the adjacent properties. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that the board has for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any additional questions for staff?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Maybe I misunderstood on the last application, Toby, but when we were talking about A1 agriculture and the approval of conditional use permits in there, I thought you said typically we don't talk about screening, but in this one, we specifically have no screen or unsecured or unscreened outdoor storage. So why in this one do we include screening, but in the last one we didn't?
So for commercial, industrial properties, and what I really call this garden center is, it's essentially a contractor shop for those different types of things. So we typically do put this as a concern that we don't want any outdoor, unscreened outdoor storage, because that's typically the complaints that we get on these types of land uses. So correct in saying that this isn't a commercial industrial use, but essentially the garden center portion of it is with it. But we're looking at that as really as more or less is that we want to make sure that everything's screened on the property and it's not unsecured on the property, so. But I'll dance back to that one and say we've never done it on an agricultural related operation, if that makes sense on that one, so.
And a garden center, while approvable in A1 agricultural, is not considered then an ag-based business?
Correct.
And then does that align with the new comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a separate land use. It's in the A1 zoning district. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Commissioners, any additional questions? Toby clarified, and I know you said it, but I didn't catch all of it. So with the, what was it with the highway? This is conditional based on,
Yeah, number
Period.
4 is the access approval would be granted by the South Dakota Department
Access
of
approval,
Transportation. Yeah. And typically, a governing agency with road authority, they require an access, what we call a driveway permit essentially is what it is, access approval. And at that time, then the South Dakota DOT, they may or may not require a traffic impact study with this, so. Okay.
I apologize, Mr. Chair, can I ask one more question?
Yes.
So, I drove this way on the way here. Is this the one there's partially storage units currently built on the property?
Nothing's built on the property. I think there's some trees that are stored on the
Okay, so this
property.
must be a different property than I was thinking of when I drove by.
I think you're thinking of the one just to the storage units are just to the north of it,
Oh, that one, yeah.
Okay,
on the
yeah,
corner.
that's right.
Mhm.
So when,
This
so,
is to the south, the old acreage site.
okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
there used to be a house there and,
Yep.
and.
Still a silo there. and-
Yeah.
Tore out.
There is some things on the adjacent property to the east of the property. Well, staff is working with the landowner there to clean that up, so. But not associated with this property at all, so. Okay.
all right, thank you, Mr. Brown. Yep. All right, this time I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their application.
Aaron Johnson, 800 Dynamic Avenue, Bluestone Landscape, which is also Blue Acres, just two separate LLCs, one for the operating part of the business and then the land holding company. So just here to answer any questions that the commission may have. I guess it sounds like you already have the same question that I initially had when Toby reached out and says, we need a conditional use permit for a garden center. We do not have plans to build a garden center to have a retail location, like we are building a shop to store equipment. We're a landscaping company that, we do design, sales, installation, but the sales are on site at the homeowner's properties. So that is our plan.
So your only traffic would be?
Staff.
Your staff and
Yep.
then any, delivery of any of your?
Potentially,
products or-
yeah. So like you'll see some trees there. That was one truckload of trees that we get once a year. Outside of that, we get a few boulders for boulder walls. There might be 4 truckloads a year that come in and out, come out. They go out on smaller trucks, but
Then any of your rock or sand or whatever?
most of that we go to a vendor. We have a
Okay.
couple vendors we work with around town, go direct to pick them up, take them to the site.
So you wouldn't have stockpiles of that or?
We do have some bins, so, there's some concrete block that we're screening with soil, and we're eventually gonna plant trees when we're done adding up on top of that. There is like 4 different bins of rocks that it's just odds and end job. Like today, we had a job that just needed like 4 ton of rocks, so just grab it quick while you're there at the land, take it out to the job site.
You're not bringing in 20 semi loads a day or anything?
Yeah, exactly. We're not looking for retail in and out, hundreds of people coming in
And
and
as
out.
far as plants, you're not bringing in semi
Nope,
loads of
the
plants?
only thing we bring in is, the bigger B&B trees that we buy from Wentworth, South Dakota, which isn't a real close drive to Sioux Falls. So we just bring a truckload in, grab 2 or 3 for the jobs we're on, and that's it.
All right, commissioners, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this time I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward.
Brian Smink, 27270 South Dakota Highway 11, Harrisburg, South Dakota. Our farming operation is currently just to the south of this proposed building site. My Uncle Norm is across the road to the west. Also, June Shields is over to the west. I've also visited with Larry Bramstead. All of the neighbors have been basically on the same page. We think that this is an excellent addition. Aaron has done a great job cleaning up that property. Before, there was an awful lot of junk machinery there. It was just an absolute disaster. So he has been a great neighbor, done a very good job, and we are all for him putting his building there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else in favor of the application? I'll ask anyone in opposition of the application. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask a motion from the commission.
I'll move to approve, Scott.
Second instead.
All right, we have a motion and a second with the conditions. Correct? Correct.
Correct.
All right, any discussion, commission?
No, I'll echo what the gentleman said. It's been nicely cleaned up, and I think get a building sitting there and somebody around there will be a nice addition in there, so I will be in support of.
And I'll just say you got some awful good neighbors there, and if you got support from them, you're probably an all right guy, so. I'll sure vote yes if you got that crew supporting you, so.
I 100% agree. You got your neighbors on your side. Be a good neighbor. Should be great. All right, with that, I will take roll call. Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Again, I'll be abstaining as the Lincoln County Commission rep, but I have no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations. Look forward to it. All right, Mr. Brown, we got
Bet you
item
wish you
number
would have
3.
been first on the dot. We maybe should have. Yeah, nobody stuck around for your deal, did they? You guys have a good night. Thanks.
We should think ahead and maybe move some.
Move some of those around. I always feel bad for those guys that have to
Yeah,
sit, yeah.
sometimes.
We always wait till the last minute to put our stuff in, so we get what we get.
First come, first served.
I think Toby does it on purpose, just
No,
out of sheer entertainment.
He likes
No.
the pain.
First come, first served, that's how we put them on the agenda. Next application is conditional easement for a contractor shop. This is adjacent to the city of T. Subject property, again, it's adjacent to the city of T. Subject property is zoned I-1 light industrial, as is adjacent properties. The properties across Sundowner are within the city of T, so they're zoned under the city of T. The property to the north across that right-of-way there, that is an agricultural piece. That's a large agricultural piece that hasn't been annexed into the city of T as of yet. Subject property is developed. It does have a 11,220 square foot building that was approved by the Planning Commission in 2023 for a contractor shop and storage yard. And I think it'd be looking directly on this one here. So the applicant did submit or did contact the office, and if you recall in 2023, there was, on the original plan, there was 2 buildings on it, but the Planning Commission approved just the north building. So when Chad contacted the office, I said he was going to now build the second phase of this on this lot, which is an identical building, essentially 11,220 square foot building. The only difference is this building won't have storage in the rear of it like the building to the north does. When staff looked at the condition, if you recall, there was some controversy with the original application. The city of T originally denied the application, and then it revisited after it was postponed by the Planning Commission. At this time, again, this is within that planned urban area with the city of T, so staff has worked really closely with the staff from the city of T. They don't have any objections to it. They've gone through the site plan with their planning commission. I believe it's going through the city council as we speak tonight on it, but staff doesn't anticipate any issues with that. So as far as analysis, again, this is within a developed industrial park. The access will be off of essentially a private road within that development. These are vacant lots that are primarily to the south of it. They're also owned by the applicant as well. So there shouldn't be any, the surrounding land uses are all similar, contractor shops, warehousing, and those different types of things. This is what I would call, the zoning of this property is I-1 light industrial, but this is really kind of a lesser impact use within that zoning district, because there'll be no activity that's associated with more intensive type land uses because of that zoning designation. So staff did post a property. The applicant did send written notification of the public hearing to adjacent properties. As of this moment, staff has received no questions or concerns regarding this application. Again, this is an identical building to the south of it. It will have parking and screening, and as well as some other issues associated with it. And so we don't anticipate any impacts to adjacent properties with this application. Again, essentially, this was a requirement of the 2023 permit that only allowed one building, and so this application tonight would approve the second building. These uses are identical to what was permitted in that original application. So staff does recommend approval with the 5 conditions that were listed in the staff report. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that the board has for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Another good, thorough report. All right, commissioners, any questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their proposal.
Chad Javer, 6900 Jovan Circle, Sioux Falls. As Toby mentioned, we're looking at doing phase 2 of this project. Phase 1 is completed now. It was kind of always our intention from the start, but bank wanted the first building full, so here we are.
Makes sense?
Yeah, so otherwise it's pretty cut and dry, I guess. If you got any questions for me.
All right, commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
All right, thank you, Jed. All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
So moved with the 5 conditions green.
Second
Boots.
instead.
All right, additional conversations, commission? All I have to say is if T's good with it, I'm good with it. All right, then I'll take a roll call. Commissioner Instead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
I'm abstaining, but I have no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, congratulations, Chad.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well, thanks.
All right, with that, that is our 3 agenda items. And I'll move on to old business. Mr. Brown, any old business?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, new business, any new business?
I don't recall if I mentioned it last month, but the Board of Commissioners did meet a couple weeks ago and did approve the rezone that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, which was the rezone down zone to A1 agricultural up adjacent to Smith's Addition. As well as prior to that, the Board of Commissioners did approve the pipeline CO2 ordinance that was recommended by the Planning Commission as well. I don't think I mentioned that one last time either. Third thing is that staff has been working with the subcommittee of the Planning Commission on the bylaws updates. And so I think we've got a draft put together on that. More than likely, it'll be an item that we'll have on next month's agenda for that, as well as staff's going to work with that subcommittee to establish a timeline for the zoning ordinance updates. So as you recall, we've adopted a new comprehensive plan in the county. First step is to make sure our zoning regulations or standards are in conformance with that. So staff's kind of gone through with, and we're working with legal counsel on that to just really kind of identify some of those things. Really how we're going to approach this is kind of a piecemeal approach to it. So we're not going to have a whole document and we'll adopt it. It's more you're going to have individual chapters that we'll bring forward and then we'll take up consideration. And again, your role is to give a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. And so we anticipate that, this isn't going to be a quick process, but we're going to prioritize and kind of hit the main issues that we need to hit and evaluate. But there's nothing really that's completely not in compliance with the new comprehensive plan. It's, I would say if anything, it's making things more simplified is what the comprehensive plan said we need to focus on with that. But with that, it's been a while since, the pipeline ordinance would be the last amendment we've done in a while, but really taking a look at the current regulations and deciding how we want to proceed with those, we haven't done in a while. So it's going to be a intensive process, but I know you guys are committed to making sure that that the regulations meet the comprehensive plan and are good for the citizens of Lincoln County. So that's all I had, Mr. Chair. With that, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Just publicly again, want to thank Toby. He is short-staffed and understaffed. And taking on these projects, in addition to his other duties and the duties of, the entire planning commission or planning and zoning department is great. So thank you, Toby. All right, that, motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn, Scott.
Second, instead.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.